if I sound like a big old dummy, then maybe I'll ask not to post it. But
That's perfectly
yeah,
fine.
totally
Perfectly
fine with
fine. Yeah.
recording. All right, cool.
Okay. I'll record
Um,
and then yeah, I can send it
awesome,
to you and then yeah, you could just let me know. Either way, it's totally fine.
sweet. All right, cool.
Awesome. Well, yeah, this is our first session. So, just what's your experience with TFT been like? How long you been playing? What rank have you been generally? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been playing, I think really since like maybe set one or set two. I'm actually gonna look myself up because I'm actually not sure. I mean I started playing very early, but it was always more of just a for fun type of thing. I never really took
Hmm.
it seriously
Hmm.
until I think season 9 was when I really got into it. I hit diamond. This was back before Emerald existed, so I don't really count it.
Hmm.
Um, and then like season 10, I was plat, and I just hit, or I was diamond season 11 as well, I guess, or set 11, and then didn't play set 12, set 13 diamond. So I've been playing for a really long time. But I also don't think I've like been super serious until probably like set 9.
Hmm.
So like I've watched a bunch of streams, YouTube videos. I've been subscribed to you for like a month now. I
Hmm.
really love the VOD reviews you do. They're so helpful for me.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, of course. Thank you. And like that's been a lot of how I've kind of learned. And like the more I do that, the more I pick up on what like really good people do, and I try to kind of emulate that. So
Hmm.
I'd say I'm proficient at TFT. I think I know a lot of the basics. I actually just bought your TFT fundamentals video
Hmm.
dollar one and watched it. And I felt like I knew a good amount of stuff in it, but there's also a lot of stuff that was like aha moments for me when I kind of watched it. So
Yep.
that was really great. So I guess that's in a rambling way, that's kind of my history with TFT. I've hit diamond, but I would love to, you know, like ideally I hit challenger, right? I know that's like a huge stretch, and I don't know that I really have the mental fortitude, but that's really like what I would love to do.
Hmm.
And I know that there's just so much that I need to like learn and improve on in order to
Hmm.
get there. That's kind of why I figured I'd reach out, because again, like watching your VOD reviews, like you seem to be very smart about a lot of things, and obviously you've been challengers, so like you know what you're doing.
Hmm.
So I just thought that getting your perspective on what I'm doing, it would be a much easier way than me trying to just figure it out myself. Just getting like some critiques on what I'm doing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was all great. And yeah, I think a lot of people have kind of a similar story to yours. I mean, even mine, like I think a lot of people, they start playing TFT and it's this just kind of like game they play on the side. It's like, it's kind of whatever, play some games. Maybe you even play it on your phone and you're just like, I don't really
Mm.
care about it, but it's a nice little game to play. And then at some point, I don't know, it's for some people, it's like, they're like mechanics aren't good. You get older. I used to be like a League of Legends player, and then like
Hmm.
I always played the roles that like didn't require having hands. I don't
Yeah.
know how familiar you are with League, but I played.
I've played
Mhm.
it for way too long, like
Okay,
11,
okay.
12 years. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, so I played jungle and support because I didn't have hands, and I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
too afraid to like mechanically mess up in lane, so I'll just play jungle and like fight the camps, and then I can also it's more cerebral, right, than like playing in lane.
Yeah.
It's more about the macro and stuff, which I liked. But then eventually, I mean, with me for League, it was just like the toxicity is too much, and then
Mhm.
so many people I think similar story. They pivot to TFT and started saying like, wait, this game's actually really really cool, and it's also really really deep there. Like you were talking about, there's so much to learn and so many things to
Mhm.
think about in TFT. And I think a lot of people see TFT at a very, very surface level. And that's why that's why I started doing the VOD reviews, because you just watch like really, really high level players do things, and you realize that like, wow, like this is an aspect of the game that I didn't even like know existed, or they made this play that was like taking into account these variables that I was like never even considering. And I think that's so, so cool. And then like coaching as well, you get to like look at even more of that kind of stuff and like help people learn that. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm happy that you got the fundamentals overview, because I think that is like kind of the like a lot of the stuff in there is just stuff that like I like a lot of the stuff I added recently is stuff that like I've been doing a lot more coaching recently, and it's just like session after session after session after session. I see people making these same mistakes. And so I wanted to
Mhm.
just like lay that out as a baseline for like these are very common mistakes, or these are good ways to think about things so that you aren't making these same mistakes. So yeah, I'm happy that you have that as a baseline. So yeah, I think did you say you have VODs to go over?
Yeah, I have a
Okay.
bunch
Okay. Awesome.
that I took. I don't know, like in your experience, what do you think would be like the most beneficial VODs to have? Like I have like some where, like they kind of felt like a low roll game, but like maybe, if I played it more flexibly or if I did something else, like maybe it wouldn't have been a low roll game. Like do you think something like that would be good to review, or maybe like a third, fourth place, kind of see, how I could have maybe got up to like second or first. Like what do you think is like a good type of VOD to review?
Yeah, I like you're talking about kind of those middle placements, like
Hmm.
sixth, fifth, fourth, third, that kind of stuff. Really, I try to just avoid firsts or eighths because firsts, it's
Yeah.
usually like a lot of stuff is just going well. You're getting like your
Hmm.
perfect items, your perfect unit drops, and so like there's definitely still stuff to review. But when you have a game that you kind of hit more like adversity, it's not as easy to play out. I feel like those games are better to review because there's more decisions to be made. There's more to learn there. And then
Yeah.
eighths, usually it's just like you made like a few like maybe even sometimes just one like colossal mistake that
Yeah.
puts you into a really bad spot. So that's generally the idea. The other thing is just kind of like you were talking about games where you're not really sure what you should have done or like what went wrong. So games where you're like, oh, maybe if I had taken a different line, I could have gone like the game could have gone better, but I don't know what that line was. So that's the other thing where it's just kind of like games where you're like you're not sure exactly what you should have done or what you could have done better. Great are games where you're like, I feel like I played this game perfectly and I went like sixth or seventh or something because
Hmm.
those games,
Hmm.
there's always something to tweak. And sometimes it's just having that second set of eyes allows you to see stuff that you wouldn't normally see.
Okay. All right. So I think with that in mind, I'll probably take a maybe I'll take this game. I got third place. I went Rebels,
Okay.
and I seem to remember it being kind of an interesting game.
Okay.
So I guess we can start with this one. Do you want me to just stream it?
Yeah, if you
What's
just have
what's
them like on your
streaming?
computer, probably easiest to just to
Okay.
screen share because it'll take too long. Like
Yeah, for sure.
if you have them uploaded somewhere, you can send it to me. But if not, like yeah, it'll take too long to like actually upload it. So you can just screen share.
Okay. Let me see. So I have them. I copied them from Outplay to like a specific VOD review file,
Oh,
but
okay. Uh-huh.
now I'm thinking it's probably better just to view it in Outplayed because it's just so much easier to navigate around. So let me see if I can find this game in
Okay.
Outplayed. One sec. It's the Artillerist game. All right, well, maybe we'll do this one. This will probably be easier. All right, so let me go ahead and I guess I'll just share my Outplayed screen.
Yep, that works. All right. Yep, I can see everything.
You want me to full screen?
Yeah,
Would that
full
be
screen
easier?
is
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
better. And then yeah, full screen, I usually just go on like 2.5 or 2 times speed. You have the 3.5x. What the heck? That's so
Yeah, it's a little
fast.
crazy.
But yeah, usually it's 2x speed, and then like before like big decisions, I like to pause before augment selection, before like if you're like trying to figure out what board to play, before item slams, that kind of stuff. We can pause and talk through everything.
Cool. Awesome. And do you mind if I just like ask random questions?
No,
Like
yeah, I mean
if I okay, cool.
absolutely, absolutely. Go for it. Yeah, I will.
Awesome.
I'll just kind of like give my input throughout the game, like what I would do in this situation, and try to explain why. But yes, absolutely. I mean, it should be as interactive as you want it to be. Like, feel free at any time if you have questions to ask, for sure.
All right.
Um,
So I guess
mhm.
I how would do you want me to kind of like say what I was thinking in this moment,
Yeah,
or do you want to kind of okay? Um, so I mean, right here. So when I start a game now, especially after watching like your TFT fundamentals video, where you're talking about like flexibility and like knowing like when you slam an item, like what are the outs for that, and like what kind of units can be played on, and I know like in my head, I have some like quote unquote default lines. I've been reading on like TFT Academy, and they've mentioned like there are default lines that you can play to without needing to hit like an augur, an emblem, or something like that. So you can kind of try to like play towards those lines unless you get directed elsewhere. So that's kind of like what I'm trying to do. Like for example, like Experiment Twitch is one that I read that's a good one to kind of like default to unless you find something else. So in my head for these early games, like my strategy is to try to like play pairs first of all, like hit 2-star units and try to play those as much as possible, but still kind of lean towards like in my head, like I already kind of know what I want to play, and maybe that's not great. But when I'm like picking units here, like that's kind of in my head, what's going through my head, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. Yeah, we don't hold the Morgana here, but we don't really have anything that pairs with it. So I think it's correct to hold everything that you're holding here. We do have a Zyra pair plus Lux, which is something I'd be interested in. Like your items, like I said in the fundamentals thing, like your items kind of dictate what you can play because it dictates what your first slam is. And so, yeah, definitely want to. We sold, what was that, Draven? Was it Draven? Did we have Draven pair? We sold Draven plus, the Maddie there in that spot. So yeah, I guess we can just pause when we get the gold ore because we get like Zeri from here. Okay, yeah. And then, yeah, we just pause here and just kind of like look at all of our options there. Okay. Oh, I was gonna pause like even a little bit before because we sold. Okay, so we sold Draven, Maddie. I mean, just as far as like openers go in general, yeah, like right here, yeah, this is perfect. So as far as like openers right now, this patch, I love a sorcerer opener. I just feel like Lux was already one of the best one costs in the game, and they just kept Lux the same for some reason and buffed Zyra really, really hard. So like if I can ever play around Sorcerer Opener, I'm excited to do that. Your items are like pretty reasonable to play into some kind of Sorcerer line. We have like Nashers and then maybe some kind of AP item. We also have like a Sunfire that we could make and then maybe some kind of AP, so like Sunfire and then, I don't know, Static Shiv or something like that. We'll see what the rest of the stuff we get is here. So like an AP opener seems reasonable. We also have this this Violet pair here. But yeah, I mean, looking at this spot here, I'm really, really interested in picking up the Lux so that we actually have that to pair up with the Zyra. And then the Powder is nice as well. You end up selling Draven plus Maddie. I mean, the only downside to selling Draven Maddie is Draven pairs nicely with the Violet opener. You know, if we end up playing around Violet this game, some kind of like AD line, I don't know if we get like the Sterax augment and our items are like, you can make like Titan Sterax here and then make like Titans, take the Sterax off the augment and then make like Morello. And then you could play, you know, a very, very solid like AD base game into something like Enforcers and feel like pretty good about that and have like Violet carry the early items. Like that's what I would look at there as a potential possibility. And then Maddie I like a lot as an opener. I mean, Maddie I like holding as well just to keep like the Twitch idea open. You have, you know, like Winsu Sunfire here if you wanted to play towards Twitch, which seems really reasonable as well. So that's, yeah, I like, I would just sell the Zeri here and buy Lux plus Powder, and that would be the setup here. Just because like if you're selling Maddie, like just kind of like talking about like early game and like units matching up with each other. Like if you're selling this Maddie, then there's not that much value in holding this Zeri. I guess if you want to play like a Zeri reroll game, it's pretty niche, but like I guess if you get like a really, really good augment to start it, you could think about it. I don't know. I don't love the Zeri reroll comp that much, so I need something crazy here. So I guess that's the only nice thing here, but I feel like it's more likely that we're going to play like around maybe Maddie into Twitch or Maddie and like Enforcers than it is that we're going to play a Zeri game. I feel like it's more often we would play those lines. So that's why I like selling the Zeri here. And like holding the Powder is nice as well. Maybe some kind of family opener. I don't love family right now, but I mean, even just like Powder too with Trundle is not a bad opener.
True. Yeah, see, and this is something that like I think I play still a little bit too close-mindedly, where like if it's not a trait I'm super comfortable with like, you know, family, I don't feel like I'm super comfortable. I don't go a lot. Like it almost feels like sometimes I like don't even like allow me to see like that kind of opener, you know?
Yep.
I think that's something I definitely would like to work on for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like there is a degree of that is helpful. Like if there's certain openers, like I said, like I'm always interested in holding on to sorcerer units, especially in your spot where you have some AP items you can potentially play around sorcerers. Doesn't even have to be like a sorcerer game. It can be sorcerer opener into something else. But like, so like, there's a degree of that where like, yeah, you should lean certain ways just based on how strong stuff is. But you know, like with Violet pair, like pair, Powder pair here, and a Draven, like you don't
Right.
even have to play like a family game. You can just play Violet to item hold and then use that to get to some kind of like a Vi later, and then play around like Enforcers with Vi or something like that. So you know, it doesn't even have to be like it's a family game. It can just be it's a family opener, and then I pivot that to something else. Like I saw a really cool game that a high-low player did where he just played family like the entire early game and then just kind of like full pivoted his board into 6 Enforcer. He just Powder held the AP items and then Violet held the AD items, and he just did that until like stage 4. Sold Powder, sold Violet, put Vi in, put like Twisted Fate in, and like switch the items around. And I was like, oh, that's like a really cool way to get to that board that's like not traditional. You know, most people just play Enforcer into Enforcer.
Yeah, see, like things like that, I want to be more mentally aware of, because I mean, I even like right before I started, like I said that like the way I wanted to play was to play towards pairs, and you know, you're 100% right. Like I have Violet pair with, you know, Draven. Like it doesn't, looking back at it now, like it doesn't make sense to sell that. And you know, talking about setting up for Twitch, like it doesn't make sense to sell the Maddie either, because we can play with that as well. So yeah, totally agree.
Yep.
All right, should I move forward to the augments?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so yeah, sell those guys, pick up these guys, you pick up Singed. Yeah, I mean, I don't love Powder that much, but okay. First augment here, Artillerist Crest, All That Shimmers, Glass Cannon. I mean, I do think you could do a Scala Lobby if you want, or you could just lay claim to it really, really early, but you have a pretty nice Twitch angle here. I forget, did you say if this is you said this is a Rebel game, right, I think?
No, this one is the experiment, Twitch experiment.
Okay, yeah, this is a Twitch game, because yeah, I mean the angle looks fantastic. You can take All That Shimmers here. You can take Collector would be the pick there, and Gwynsu Collector, Sunfire, and those would be your items, and you'd be very pleased. I mean, definitely reroll the other options. Glass Cannon is pretty bad as a first augment, just because damage amp in the early game, you're not amping up. You don't have that much damage to amp,
right.
so it doesn't do that much. And Artillerist, I mean, it's an idea, I guess. You do have kind of Gwynsu's, but I mean, All That Shimmers is just too good to pass up in this spot, I would say.
Yeah. So that was definitely I'll play. So I'm kind of in the same mindset here. So I reroll for these two.
Oop, both those other options are just those other options are pretty bad. A Spirit Link first augment is like terrible. Trade Sector is just not a very good augment. It was good once upon a time, but it's one of those augments that it's like, it's kind of an old augment. It's felt like power crept. Like it's just like better stuff has come into the game, and like this augment has just stayed in the game. It's just like, just okay. I think they even nerfed it like last set because of like charms and stuff, and then like they never rebuffed it, which is weird. So yeah,
that sounds accurate to TFT.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm of a similar mindset. So I see All That Shimmers and I think, oh great, like I'm gonna take this. I have a Rage Blade, so immediately in my mind, like I'm thinking, you know, take Rage Blade, and my immediate thought, and this is a problem I have, is I think I'm a little bit too impulsive. I don't really like think about some of these decisions as much as I probably should. So here I think I have a Rage Blade, like Gambler's Blade is going to make me the most money, so I'm just going to take that. But like I think, you know, as you said, like going into, if I'm leaning towards Twitch, Gold Collector is probably just going to be a better item for that. Is Gambler's Blade more of like when would you play Gambler's Blade? I know it's really good on like Cogma, but like when would you play that over Gold Collector?
Yeah, so like in this spot exactly here, the reason why Gold Collector is good is because it's a fantastic item on Twitch later, just because Twitch, he really like, you know, he shoots a bunch of different targets. He kind of spreads his damage out. It allows him to get those executes, and it pairs really nicely. You go like Gwynsu Gold Collector, IE, ideally, and then, you know, the crit from Gold Collector is really nice. So that's why this is kind of like, almost like it's a pretty common line. You'll see a decent amount of time people like with Gwynsu take Gold Collector here and then just play for that into Twitch because it's a fantastic item onto Twitch later. Yeah, Gambler's Blade is really, really good with Gwynsu's. If I don't know, if the game was a little different, if maybe like Twitch was a worse line, you could think about this. Maybe if like Kog'Maw was a slightly better line, because I think that line's okay, but not great. You like kind of need to high roll a bit for the line to be good. Then like Gwynsu's Gambler is reasonable. But yeah, that's the big reason why is that oftentimes late game, especially if you go Gwynsu's Gamblers, The only unit where Gwinsu's Gamblers is going to be an acceptable build is Kog'Maw, just because he can
Yeah.
use all the attack speed in the world, and so
Mhm.
like he's happy with just 1,000,000% attack speed. But kind of talking about like the thing I talked in the fundamentals overview, like multiplying stats on each other on basically any other champion, Gwinsu's Gamblers is just not that much of a build because you just get way
Yeah.
too much attack speed and you don't have
Right.
enough damage or crit or damage amp or anything like that. So yeah, you see if you go Gwinsu's Gamblers here, it basically like the only line that you're excited to play is like Kog'Maw. The thing you can do, like it's like not the end of the world, is you can play Gwinsu's Gambler Blade for a while and then eventually just move Gamblers to like another unit. But then like
Yeah.
the downside is then you're kind of like playing down that Gambler's Blade. Whereas Gold Collector,
Right.
like late game on Twitch, it's a real item. Like it's a good item on Twitch. So that's like that's why Gamblers is or Gold Collector tends to be better here. Is that it's a gold gen item now and it's like a real item later. Whereas Gamblers is
Mhm.
like a gold gen item now, probably like maybe a slightly better gold gen item depending on like your opener. But late game, it's just not as much of an item. So that's the thinking behind it.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. And I think no spoilers, but I think we kind of run into a problem with that. So yeah, I think this is an issue of me just not valuing Gold Collector enough, or maybe not knowing when Gambler's Blade is good versus when Gold Collector's good,
Hmm.
because from this position it does really make sense, especially again if I'm leaning towards Twitch to go Gold Collector in retrospect. So that's one thing I need to work on is I think being less impulsive and thinking more about these decisions.
Yep.
Um,
But
so yeah,
yeah, I mean,
I
I see why you do this. It is still a very nice
yeah.
combo. If you are gonna do this, one thing that I like a lot when you have a setup like this, Gwinsu's Gambler's Blade here, is I like actually putting it onto the Lux here because Lux just inherently, like as a unit, plays for the really long fights, right? She's just getting shields, shields,
Mhm.
shields, shields. And so
Mhm.
you can actually, like, if you just have Lux and then, I guess like two Sentinels in here would be your best board, like Lux and the Irelia and the Singed here. And then just like hopefully try to get some 2-star Sentinels. Like you can just play for really, really long fights with the Lux. She's going to get a ton of Gwinsu stacks. Her cast is quite fast. So it's not like she's like wasting a lot of time. And then you can actually get like a ton of gold off gamblers.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Um, I think so. What I do here, and it's funny because looking back at last round, I sold a Maddie,
Hmm.
and then here I think, oh, okay, I'm thinking Twitch, so immediately in my head like snipers, even
Hmm.
if it's not like again in retrospect the best board, I think my brain just kind of it's still a little bit inflexible in that like I feel like I need to play a matching trait early in order to play that same trait later kind of thing.
Yep.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't think I really made the best judgment here in terms
Hmm.
of like what the best board was. Cause again, like what you said, a Lux with Sentinel front, it just probably would have made more sense than what I did. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about there, like just like the most TFT players want to do exactly what you're talking about. I mean, everybody wants to do what you're talking about, where it's just like,
Mm,
well, I'm going to play snipers this game, so I'll play snipers in the early game, and that'll make the transition to snipers like so much easier. I can just play these
mhm.
snipers the whole game, and then when I find Twitch, I can just take out a sniper, put Twitch in over whoever was holding my items, and then boom, like it's easy, and it is easy. But it's easy because it is kind of a shortcut. The
Right.
better way to just play TFT and to build boards is to say, okay, what in the moment is the strongest board that I can play right now, and then play that, and then eventually when the board becomes better, when you get to the Twitch and you get other stuff that you can fit in, swap things out. That's a really common thing. We'll see if it ends up being an issue in this VOD, but a really common thing that people do is like they'll like sell 2-star kind of like intermediary units. Maybe you have like a set 2 and he's like holding some of your tank items, and you sell him and put in like a Mundo one, or like even like a Rennie 2 or something like that. A unit that you're like, well, I don't really want this Rennie on my final board, so I'm immediately going to sell her and just put
Mm,
items onto Mundo 1 because Mundo's going on
mhm.
my final board. But Mundo 1 so much worse than a Rennie 2 just in terms of like tank
Right.
stats. You should probably just keep your items on the Rennie 2 until then you find Mundo 2. When you find him, then you can move items over to him, and then feel a lot better about that.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely a problem I've had in the past. I still definitely do that. without thinking. Sometimes I think there are times where, I see a unit that I want, and again, without making the judgment of like, does this make my board stronger, I'll just like throw it on the board and get rid of something that was actually making my board stronger.
Yep.
Definitely have done that.
Yeah. So you just have to ask yourself at every step of the
Mhm.
way, like, is my
Yep.
board actually getting stronger here? And if it's not, then don't do it. I mean, it
Yep.
sounds easy, and it is. I mean, it's not just that easy,
Sure.
but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So yeah. So I'm here, and again, like I think, I get a little panicked sometimes. I feel like I maybe am running out of time, so like I sometimes will slam items and then think about it later. So I don't know if I do that here, but
Okay.
I'll just
Let's
press
see.
play.
Yep. Okay, so we'll play this Tsar board kind of in a similar way. I think if we are going to do this setup here, I would rather just play the Steb over the Zeri until we hit level 4.
Mm,
And like you could level up here. If we do this, I would just play Steb. It's just Steb plus the Trundle here, because then you get Enforcer in as well, which is nice. Yeah, I don't completely mind leveling in the spot, because it does give you better odds of like getting Gambler's Blade and stuff. The only downside to this is that you are like kind of like your odds of finding a 2-star are lower just on, your current level. But I mean, you didn't have that many pairs. So I think leveling here, just playing like the board you played, just swap out the front line for the Bruiser front line with Steb would be better. And now we have a Nunu here. Like I would definitely swap the front line out now.
yeah. Yeah. A quick question for you in terms of, and this is something I really am I've been in the process of really trying to analyze as I'm playing of, your 2-1. What is your board like? Do you want to try to win streak? Do you want to try to, lose streak? Like, I'm curious in your mind in a position like this. So like, I have, an okay item. Like I have Sunfire, which I think is great.
Hmm.
My Zeri items are, not like amazing. They're all right. I don't think I'm really going to be doing a whole lot of damage. Like in this spot with no 2 stars or anything like that, like are you thinking to yourself on 2-1, like, yeah, I'm gonna level here, or are you thinking I'm just gonna stay at 3, hit 10 gold on 2-1, and then just play from there? Like what's your thought process here?
Yeah, so I mean, the best thing that you can do is do a quick scout of the lobby and just get a general
Mm,
idea of how strong people are, because lobbies
mhm.
in TFT can vary greatly. You might just have a lobby where somebody has like a random 2-star 2 cost that they hit after the first few rounds. You're like, okay, well, I'm always going to lose that.
Mm,
So it is good to get a quick scout of the lobby. I would say like in your spot, what you can kind of just take a quick like audit of your board and say, okay, what upgrades do I have? I don't have any upgrades right now, so like that's one thing. As far as my augment, like does my augment give me a lot of combat strength? I would say a decent amount. Gambler's Blade is like kind of like a mini Gwinsu's, and
mm.
so like getting another Gwinsu's. I mean, Zeri, she does really well with what's it called, the one that gives you all the rage blades,
Yep.
that
Saw it,
that
yeah.
augment. So like just having a couple of rage blades onto her is not bad at all. It's really really nice for her. And the Sunfire, like you said, is a fantastic early game slam. So your early game slams are really good. Your augment is pretty good combat wise. My only hesitation with your board about like playing for win streak is that we have no upgrades. But there are times when upgraded boards can full win streak. I would not be completely shocked if your board win streaks. I would also not be shocked at all if you like lose to somebody who has a stronger board, but that's what the scout is for. You can just see
Yeah.
what everyone's boards are at. And the only other downside, like I said, to leveling is that now we're level 4, we're 55% odds to find a 1 cost, so it's gonna be hard to pick up like a Maddie 2 or like
Mm,
a Steb 2 or something like that.
that's true.
So yeah, it's really scouting the lobby will give you a bunch of information, but I mean, it usually comes down to what items do you have slammed, what upgrades do you have, and how strong is your augment early. And you have no upgrades, but really good items and a pretty good augment. So yeah, I think like I am not like confident in your board. Like if you had like Steb 2, I would be confident that your board can win
Yeah.
streak unless there's somebody like insane in the lobby. Without that, I'm like it may be like 60% chance you win streak. It's also elo dependent. Like I think at your elo right now, it is preferable to just like always play for win streak if you have any kind of
Mhm.
line for it, because a lot of people are just like kind of asleep at the wheel playing bad boards.
Yeah.
And so like you can just win streak for free some lobbies that like, if you're in a challenger lobby, people will be playing better boards, you wouldn't be able to win streak, but like you do have to kind of like play relative to your lobby. So like that being kind of like the tiebreaker here, I think it's pretty reasonable for you to level just because I
Okay.
mean, that last board you fought wasn't very strong. The average board that you're going to fight at like your current rank is like going to be weaker than, I mean, yeah, obviously as you
Mhm.
climb higher, people play better boards, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, I think I do pick up the new here.
I'm hoping
Again, I
that the
ask
Nunu.
myself.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I hope the Nunu like baits you into playing bruisers because then you can get this
Yep.
board in, and yeah,
Hmm.
this is all good. Okay, nice. I'd sell off the extra units like the violet pair and the other stuff. Normally I wouldn't, but Gambler's Blade does give you 1% attack speed for every gold that you
Hmm.
have up to 30. So getting that extra 1%, even like during combat like this, I like to run around and pick up the gold as well to get that attack speed. But yeah, just like
Oh, that's smart.
this is like actually a spot where like normally you want to hold on to all these other like random units just because it's like basically free to, but here I actually just I want to sell everything that I don't need because I know that that attack speed's worth more than like the odds of me. I mean like this Vex, is never actually going to go onto our board.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. Something I didn't even consider. Cool. Um, yeah. So I think here, again, I'm seeing bruisers,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking, okay, like this is something I could potentially make work. The experiment is kind of in the back of my head too. I think I 2-3, like if I level a 2-1, and this was in your guide. I always try to hit 10 gold right
Mhm.
here. So luckily I got Gambler's Blade and was able to sell that unit to hit 10 here.
Yep. Yeah, this is good. I mean, the spot looks nice. Yeah, like I said, honestly, like in your spot, you're angling Twitch, so I'll play this game from like the idea that we're angling Twitch. But like the best angle to play from your spot is just either like a Zeri game or a Kog'Maw game, just because they do
Mhm.
scale so nicely with just the double attack speed items. Like those are basically the only two units that can use double attack speed items. So yeah. And yeah, I was about to say I like the four bruiser here. It's a little bit like obviously you lose a lot of combat strength. You lose the sniper and the enforcer here,
Mhm.
but you get a really tanky front line, and you want to play for really really long fights with this setup here. So yeah, and I like making the item slam as well. I think that's like very reasonable in this spot. Neither of those components are that important in this comp. Like tier, you're not really excited to have a tier
Right.
in a Twitch comp, and then cloak. Like cloak, you're a little bit more excited for as far as like even shroud and stuff like that, but it's not like that crazy. We can find like a last whisper down the line or something. But yeah, I like the slam, especially because once again, playing for a strong board now allows us to farm more gold on the Gambler's
Mm,
Blade.
cool. Um, yeah. So here I think in my mind, like again, I'm thinking, make Econ now. Like I don't, especially with Gambler's Blade, I feel like I don't really have a lot of money right now. Which would you agree with? I mean, I guess leveling, 5 at 2-5, this kind of tracks. Like, what are your thoughts on my Econ at this point?
Yeah, I mean, you're not five streak. You're farming a decent amount of gold from gamblers. I mean, I think your econ is like pretty average here. Like
Yeah.
for the fact that we started gamblers, it's maybe like a little bit low. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, the reason why you're kind of low gold here. There's the Kog'Maw. All right, we full pivot to Kog'Maw and GG's. But yeah, like
I should.
the reason why you're low gold here is because our bench is like pretty expensive. Like
Yeah.
right now, our bench is worth what 14 gold. So yeah, like and that's kind of okay. We just got a bunch of gold there. I would say if you're not considering playing around like the Kog'Maw as a line, I would sell the Kog'Maw there before I pick up the orbs, just because it gives you space on your bench for the orbs to like explode into units. And like I don't know what that gold orb was. If it was just gold, it might have been like 2 4 costs. And
Mm.
maybe you could have got one of them if you had opened up the slot on your bench. I wouldn't even mind selling the set. I know he's another bruiser, but like we're probably not going to play 6 bruiser, and so like just having a couple of slots open on my bench there, I just always want to have ideally 3 slots open, but if not 3, then as many as I can open on my bench when I open up orbs there, because if an orb had a Nunu in it, that's really really good for you. If you get like a Twitch out of an orb, that's really really good for you as well. So yeah, just something to keep in mind whenever you're on a minions round like this. It's usually like 3-1 is or like yeah, Krugs is when it's most influential, just because that's when you have like a lot of stuff on your bench.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. I'm gonna keep that in mind.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, the spot, you're up to 50 gold here because you got a decent amount. You go for the early level here. I would say, judging, like, what I would like for you to do is do this scout before you actually make
Yeah.
this level.
Mhm.
Because, yeah, like, you basically do. I mean, you do both things that you should do, but you do them out of order. Like, you should scout here first, see how strong these people are fighting, and see like, okay, this is actually a pretty strong board. I can maybe beat it if I level here, and then level in this fight ends up being really close, but you end up losing. Like, I think this is, that's fine. Like, it's unfortunate that you lost, but like, it's okay. But yeah, like I like, yeah, I mean, I think I talked about the thing and the fundamentals thing, but yeah, just always in that spot before you make that play to level, just do a quick scout because like, it might be that scouting like that, like if that person had like Triss 2 and like some other upgrades, then you were never going to win that fight anyway. And like the first place guy's 100 streaking, there's a decent chance that guy's like really strong and that maybe you can't win that fight either. So like if you're going to still lose 2 out of 3 after leveling, then like you shouldn't level,
Not worth it. Yeah. Yep, that totally makes sense.
Okay. Augment here. What are your thoughts going into this augment?
So if I go back here, so I'm sitting with bruisers, snipers. In my mind, and this is another thing. Like when I go into augments here, unless something is very obvious, or if I'm looking for something very specific, I never really have like an idea of what I want, or what my board needs, and that's something that you mentioned in your fundamentals guide of, you want to know like what your board needs so that when you look at augments, you can kind of try to, supplement the board. And I don't think I do that enough. So like coming in here, unless something like really jumps out at me, like here's an experiment emblem, like I don't really have any thoughts going into this, which I probably should. So right now, like I look at this, I see Crown's Will, and I'm thinking like I don't think I'm going AP. That doesn't make any sense for me. Shop glitch. I don't know if this is something that other people value, but I've never really had a great game with this. So I'm not even really looking at this. I know where I'm going Twitch. Like I don't know that it really makes sense for me to focus on rerolls here. So I don't think that's really making anything to me. So I think I reroll those two. And again, here, like I don't find myself being very flexible mentally. So like right now my board is 2 snipers. So like in my head, like I don't even consider these 2 because there's no chance I go melee when really like maybe one of these augments would just make my board stronger. But in my mind, I see these. I think melee. I'm ranged. I don't even want these, even though I know on their own they're both very strong augments. Cloning facility, I see this and I think, I want a good front line. I want my Zeri to be able to stack up, or whoever it is to be able to stack up the Rage Blade. And with me going bruiser, being able to put a bruiser in this hex, I think could be good. Give me more frontline. Realistically, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like maybe damage is something that I'm lacking. So I guess I could re-roll this, but at the same time, like if I re-roll this and get something bad, like these other 2 options are really not something I'm considering. So I kind of feel like cloning facility is my best option. I think I saw one of your videos recently where you were reviewing a game where they took cloning facility and it actually worked out really well. So I've actually been kind of leaning more towards cloning facility and find that it's pretty nice. So that's kind of my thinking here.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, cloning facility, definitely they after they buffed this patch, it just feels a lot better. I've seen a lot more people take this and a lot of people do pretty well with it. So I think cloning facility is perfectly fine in your spot. And yeah, like you said, the other 2 options are a little bit awkward. They're not, untakeable. Even on this Twitch board, oftentimes you can duo carry like a Vi, especially if you get to like Caitlyn later and stuff like that. Like she fits pretty nicely onto the board. And so like that would be your out with those like like the Starax or the Edge of Night, is you could take those and throw them onto a Vi. But I don't think that's really like your plan A. I think your plan A is play around the Twitch, play around the Mundo, and then like if you end up getting items for Vi later, maybe you can do it. So I like cloning facility here. I think this is the best augment in your spot because it still plays into the idea of your comp. The only awkward thing is that the unit that you put into it is usually you're not going to be able to put it into an experiment hex. So
Right.
like you're hopefully going to end up getting like an Elise 2 or something, but actually it's kind of awkward for Elise 2. I mean, I guess you'd have a frontline and a backline Elise 2, which could be kind of nice, but you can't actually like get the Elise here. So it's a bit awkward. I guess your best case is you high roll like a Warwick later. That's the dream, and then you get double Warwicks, but maybe that's asking a bit much. So yeah, it's actually like kind of awkward in this comp, but I think your other options are also pretty awkward. You could also, if you ever get experiment +1, even think about like taking Mundo off the hex and just go like Twitch plus like the emblem, and be like okay with that as like the experiment like things that you're like the buffs that you're taking there, and then bring like Mundo down here. That would be fine as well. So I mean I think this is your best option. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
you start rolling here in this spot,
Yeah.
and it's so whenever I think I talked about the thing, but yeah, like whenever you're rolling in a spot, you have to ask yourself, okay, like what am I actually rolling for? And here you're rolling for you have three, I mean, I guess you have four one cost pairs, though the Zyra 2 is never really gonna like even if you hit Zyra 2 here, I don't think you're gonna play it on the board. I guess you could put 2 experiment in over what you're playing right now, but I don't actually like it that much compared to just 4 bruiser. Similar idea, like I talked about in fundamentals, but it's like what are the traits that you have actually buffing? If you get experiment in here, it doesn't really buff anything that matters on this board.
Right.
For bruiser is buffing up your itemized Nunu, sniper is buffing up your Zeri, and enforcer doesn't do that much, but it's also kind of free. Like it's not like you had to get in another unit to get enforcer in here. But yeah, I mean, as far as rolling here, I mean, you do have a decent amount of pairs. I don't love rolling on 6/4 one cost pairs just because you're only at 30% odds of finding a 2-star one cost. So like the odds of finding that are pretty low. I really like rolling on 6 for like 2 cost pairs here. And if you find an Urgot 2, I mean, I guess you could fit it onto your board and then just cut a couple of bruisers. But like, I don't think it's actually that much stronger here. And you are in an ideal world, just going like a very, very fast level 8 and then playing around, hitting Twitch and all the 4 costs and stuff like that. And this is going to delay that a bit. So if you're going to delay that fast 8, you need kind of a good reason for it. And I don't really think hitting these 1 costs that it's pretty unlikely to hit is a good enough reason. Even hitting Urgot, I think, is like probably marginally stronger than 4 Bruiser. But like your board's actually pretty strong and pretty cheap right now. And I think like that's actually an advantage that you have right now. It's just that 4 Bruiser is a pretty good front line. Zeri with these double attack speed items is just going to do a good amount of damage. Like I think your board's good enough right now. You're not going to win every fight this stage, but that's okay. You're 87 HP. It's not like you're like low. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. With every point. Looking at what I have on my board, the 1 cost reroll I didn't even consider. Honestly, it's surprising me that at level 6 it's 30%. I think this is me just realizing that how low it is. But yeah, like without a Zeri pair, without like the Nunu or Rennie, like it doesn't make sense to roll in retrospect. I think here, like I worry about getting to stage 4 with very little health. So like I think I worry too much about losing health, and I think I sacrifice too much of my econ to make that happen, especially when I'm going fast 8 comps where, I really need as much money as I can have on 4-2. So yeah, in retrospect, I don't really like rolling here. I felt like my board wasn't strong, but again, looking at it in retrospect and, without having scouted, I feel like it is good enough to not have to roll here. I don't think I rolled too much. I think
Okay, yeah, maybe. And like now that you have Zeri pair, I was gonna say like now that you have Zeri pair, it's a little bit better to roll. Still, I probably wouldn't do it unless I'm like Zeri pair and like set pair here. And even then, like but yeah, like I think your board is good enough right now that once again, like you're not going to win every fight this stage, but like, even a fight like this, where this board that we're fighting, they have a pretty decent board. They have triple item on their like their Maddie, and they have like some frontline upgrades. They have an Alawi as well. Like worst case, we fight like a pretty decently strong board like this, and we still get a good loss there. So I think it's not bad at all. We do end up finding the Urgot too. So now I would be interested in playing this on our board. There's actually like a lot of stuff, and we pass up the Vi there. I would hold on to that as well. Yeah, like I think you can just play Urgot Vi on this board. Then you want to fit Experiment, which gets a little bit awkward, but maybe even just Urgot Vi would be good enough. And then the nice thing is you can put Urgot on the Hex, and then you have 2 Urgots, 2 Pitfighter Urgots, which would be nice. And then, Vi fits nicely for Enforcer. You don't have 4 Enforcer here, but even just like another Enforcer wouldn't be bad. So yeah, cut a couple of Bruisers here, play Vi plus Urgot. I like a good bit. And then like your level 7 could be just getting the Zyra in, and your board looks pretty nice. So I think like, especially after hitting this Urgot, I think it's crazy to roll any further just because like we've already hit the upgrade. So like now, once again, like asking like what are we rolling for here? We've actually hit the Urgot 2. So now once again, we're only really rolling for one thing realistically here. Like we're rolling for the Zeri 2. And the 1 cost pairs, like I said, it's kind of unlikely that we'll hit them. If we do hit them, it's not even like that big of a difference. It's nice, but yeah, it's not that crazy. I think you are falling into a common trap in TFT where it's like you don't really have like a good representation in your head of how strong your board is. And so
Mhm.
because you lost the last two fights, you're like, oh, my
Yep.
board like sucks.
Yep.
Like I'm my board's terrible and I'm just gonna lose like every fight here and go eighth.
Uh-huh.
But like what is a lot better, and it's a lot better because it's like way harder to do, is just kind of like getting a sense for how strong your board actually is, scouting the lobby. I think I talked about the fundamentals thing, but just even doing like the mental labor of like scouting and saying like, is my board stronger than this board? And if you're right, like that's great. And if you're wrong, then you learn something. You say, okay, why was I
Right.
wrong in this spot? I think is really, really helpful as well. But I think it's better to just have like a sense for how strong your board is, and then like if you because you fought the other guy who was like ergot 2 itemized, like the fact that our board was that close in the 3-1 fight against that ergot 2 board, I think was
Mhm.
an indicator that it was actually pretty strong. And the last board we fought as well, I think it was like 4 sentinel Maddie 2 with like or Maddie 1 with like a collector.
Yeah.
They had the Alawi as well. Like, yeah, this guy's got
Yeah.
Sentinel +1. He's got an Alawi. The only thing that's not that strong about his board is that he has this Maddie 1. But I mean, Maddie 1 still snipes units with these items. So like the last couple of boards that we fought, I think, is that a Leona 2 in the middle? I can't actually tell what or Irelia 2. Okay, that's Irelia 2 in the
Yeah.
middle. But yeah, like this board is quite solid as well. Just 4 Sentinel. They have a Steb 2 as well. So like this board's quite solid as well. And this was another like decently close fight. So I think like understanding just the power level of your board and also the power level of other boards can help you kind of understand, okay,
Mhm.
you know what? My board's actually not that bad. I just fought 2 pretty strong boards, so I don't actually have to panic here.
Yeah.
I should be happy with my board strength right here.
Yeah. Yep. I think panic is definitely something that I struggle with.
Hmm.
And don't go through the steps that I know I should go through to determine if that panic is actually logical or if it's just panic.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I again, like looking back on this, judgment call is number one, don't roll. Number two, put in ergot. Like the fact that I'm still rolling here, like sure I hit some things, but like now I'm at 28 gold. Like I'll hit,
Yep.
30 gold, and I'm trying to go a fast 8 comp. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah,
It's not ideal.
we're gonna be a little broke this game, but
Yeah.
it's okay. I mean, we did hit the Rennie too. It's actually
Yeah.
like decently high roll in our spot to actually get Rennie 2 down here. And like now we actually
Mhm.
have a really nice front line, so we can play around this for a while. So it doesn't work out amazing, but it doesn't actually work out that horribly. Okay. I mean, there's a sword here on a Mundo. Yeah, I think you can just pick
Yeah.
that up. It's a little bit like awkward because you don't immediately have a slam out of the sword unless you just make like
Mhm.
Giant Slayer. But I mean, worst case, you could make it. I wouldn't make it right now, but I'd wait and see what other items are. Okay. And then you,
This.
at this point, are like, I want to get Experiment in here. You know, dropping
Mhm.
Sniper here. I mean, like I said, I think you can just kind of play your other board with like like I said, I like getting the Urgot in, and like playing the Rennie is good, and then I think Experiment is pretty reasonable to get in here. It would just be if you want to play Sniper over the Trundle 2, which I think is solid. Like we have enough frontline that I don't think another like random Trundle on our board is really gonna do that much. And Zeri is doing a
Oh,
huge portion of our damage. Yeah, like
yeah.
3.5k there. Like if we get Sniper in for that, I think we can win that fight and then be in a better spot. So yeah, it's like Trundle 2 is good, but like it's once again kind of like asking, what does my board actually need here? And we are like, we
Mhm.
have a Rennie 2, we have an Urgot 2, we have like 2 Rennie 2s actually with the duplicator thingy. So like I don't feel like we actually really need the extra frontline from this Trundle. We need some more damage from having Sniper in, and
Yeah.
Maddie
True.
fits nicely on this board. But I mean, still the roll down hurt us a good bit economically. We do have the upside of getting all this gold off gamblers, so we're like we're still behind, but we're not like horribly behind in
Mhm.
econ. So we'll still, depending on how much gold we get off wolves here, be able to go like relatively quick level 8. So yeah, we'll see what wolves looks like here. Kind of similar thing where like I wouldn't even mind just leveling here early and getting a unit in, probably selling something here. Maybe it'd have to be the set. Just to keep the bench slots open so that you can
Mhm.
see what you get out of orbs. But okay. Final, well, not final, but our last kind of like big batch of slams here in this spot. This is kind of where it becomes awkward that we have like the Gwinsu's gamblers here, and we have no way of getting to like IE for Twitch. Like for now, we also have this rod, which is
Mhm.
pretty awkward. Like Morello is normally like an okay way to get rid of Rod in AD comps. We already have the Sunfire slammed. So like you probably have to make Crown Guard here. And we already have Sunfire, so Crown Guard seems pretty reasonable. Something like a Crown Guard. You could even go like Crown Guard, like Redemption. Tier is not that big of an item in this spot because I'm looking at like trying to figure out maybe like Vi items later. Maybe it's just Warmogs. I mean, I don't mind Crown Guard and Warmogs as well. We're just gonna have kind of an excess of tank items, but that is just kind of how the items shook out here, which is like, yeah, it's at the end of the day, that's just how it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't mind that being our setup here, but yeah, it's just like we probably have to either save the sword for Giant Slayer or IE because if not, our Twitch is just gonna have no damage. So yeah, I think Warmogs is pretty good, and I do think you probably end up having to make Crown Guard. I guess your other option would be like Titans, but then like that leaves Rod and Tier open, which is really awkward for you to have to deal with. So yeah, I think I just like Crown Guard here. You could slam this, next round, this round, whatever. But yeah, okay. Last augment here, mentorship, mana flow, health as wealth. I mean, mana flow doesn't do much in this comp. Health as wealth is like, like I don't like love it, but it's not horrible.
Yeah.
It's just like it's better when you have like melee carries that are like
Mhm.
taking a bunch of damage and then healing up, and we don't really have that here. And then mentorship, like later will be pretty good if we can actually get to the 5 costs. Now it's like not great.
Right.
But yeah. So I mean, definitely reroll mana flow first and see what other options are. I guess like if we had to take reinforcement, I'm pretty down for it. Like the only downside, big grab bag's pretty good as well. The downside with reinforcement is that we already took all the shimmers. Like you shouldn't have to be in the spot where you should be excited about reinforcement because we should have more gold.
Mhm.
And like if we're taking reinforcement here and then using it to hit 2-star 4 costs, like we are going to cap out lower than most other boards. You should also like I'd like to have a better sense. Like I'd like to do more scouts here and have a better sense for how contested we are. Because like if you're really
Mhm.
contested, you can also just take reinforcement and like it's a lot easier to hit Twitch too and with this. But I mean I think like in a vacuum like your best bet here would be big grab bag. If we had a little bit more gold, you can probably still take it here. Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, you have 30 gold to roll, which is not the most, but not the least. And we have some other options here, so you have to roll. I would hold on to these buys once again. Okay, you do hold the buys. Nice. Fine. Zeri 2. I would build it. Yeah, just for now. And we do get an IE. Okay. Pretty good. We have this bow for red buff. Probably not because we already have Sunfire. So
Yep.
I don't love it
This
that
is the
much.
panic setting in.
Yep. Yeah, which is fair. But and then we reforge that and we end up getting another glove. I mean, your biggest priority here is there's also something that I want to like test out doing that I've seen really high low players do. I don't know. It was like one specific VOD review I did of Solo Gasong, the EU player, and
Mhm.
he does this thing where like very frequently he will use like the in-game chat as kind of like a note taking it's like
Mm.
a way to take notes. He'll like type in the in-game chat. I need to go like review his VODs and see exactly what he types. But he'll basically type like heal cut, armor shred, that kind of stuff. And then when he builds armor shred, he'll kind of like delete that. And so it's like kind of like a running tally of like the stuff that he has left to build. And I think like honestly, that's like really, really smart as a way to just kind of like if every round I'm typing heal cut, armor shred, or if I'm deleting heal cut, like if every round you were typing that in your chat and seeing like, okay, do I and you just type it and like copy paste it and then like you don't actually send it in the chat. I mean, I guess you could, but everyone would mute you. But like it just doing that will it'll just kind of like lock into your brain, okay, we already have the seal cut made, and then just like having that kind of almost at a subconscious level will make it a lot easier for you to then not end up doing this and like making the red buff when you already have
Yeah.
Sunfire slammed. So
Yeah.
I don't know, I need to like figure out the best way to do it, but I do think that is like a really smart thing to do, and like I don't know, I want to start incorporating it into my gameplay. I just have to like figure it out, but I think that is just like a smart way to kind of ensure you don't do these little things here, which like everybody has done this. It's at some
Mhm.
point or another made double heal cut, made double armor shred or something like that, and yeah, just finding ways to avoid that is really really good, and I think that might be a good way to do it. I don't know, I gotta try it out.
It's smart. I mean, again, keeping the awareness on it so that you don't just like because I do like I'll mindlessly like, oh yeah, this is a great item, and then after I make the item, I'm like, oh wait a minute, that was dumb. So I
Yep.
think that's a very very good idea. Um, so so I'm now at 10 gold, right?
Hmm.
17 gold on 4-3. I haven't found a single Twitch. Like, I have one star Mundo. Like in this spot, like I think again, like I'm thinking, okay, I don't again in my mind, like I don't feel strong enough. I don't have the Twitch. I want to roll down. Like in this situation, would you like roll to 10 to try to find that Twitch, or would you like wait till like 4 or 5 to get more econ? Like what are your thoughts when if you're in a situation like this?
Hmm. I like what you do there, and you do kind of like a quick scout of the lobby, and you try to see like, okay, how many, like, what other units are out, like how many Twitches are out, and there's actually not that many Twitches out. I think it's nice to hold on to this Corki as like another out, but like, I think you once again are like panicking yourself a little bit too
Mm,
much based on your spot. Like your spot is really not that bad. Yeah, you don't have your Twitches, you don't have the Mundos and stuff, but you have a Zeri 2, you have a Rennie 2, like you have an okay backline, an okay front line. So yeah, like, and we had the, like, if we had held on to the Vi pair, we'd be Vi 2 now.
mm,
Like you could then fit that onto your
mhm.
board and get a lot stronger. Like the best way to play TFT is just to slowly like improve your board over time, and just like find your different outs, and then like I don't know. I think you are playing like, and this is similar to what you did like earlier in this game, is like you're playing as if your HP is like lower than it is. Like
Yeah, right.
you're 66 HP here, but you're playing as if you're like 30 HP. Like I
Hmm.
think it's totally fine for you to just every single round maybe roll it down to like 20 or 30 gold and then just sit there at like 30 gold and then wait. Like at this point I actually do like rolling it pretty deep, because now we found Twitch pair, we found Mundo pair, where there's so many
Hmm.
things for us to hit here. I think it is very appropriate for you to roll, but I think you are I think you're like really kind of like, I don't know, afraid of like taking a lot
I
of
am
damage or
100%.
something.
Yeah.
But I really think your spot is, not actually bad at all here. Um,
This is questionable. I'm just gonna say
okay,
this right now.
if we are going to calling card, I don't know that it's new because if you get visionary,
Right. Yeah.
your game is not going to be very
Over.
good.
Yeah.
I think I mean I guess you have to do Twitch here, because at least Sniper is something, and maybe we could play for
Yeah.
Sniper. It's not great, and I like, I guess your idea here is that, I mean, you have like 2 out of 3. Like if you hit Bruiser, it's pretty good, and like
Mhm.
Experiment is nice. Um, so like I see
Big
this, but
gamble.
I think it opens you up to the 33% just like
Yep.
catastrophic low
Right.
roll.
Yeah.
I'd rather just take the like 50% like good on Twitch, and the other 50% is
Mhm.
like okay.
Yeah.
I do think like calling card in general here, not so bad. I don't like completely love it, just because like um it's gonna be hard for you to get to like 7 experiment. Like the only way you're getting to 7 experiment is if you like actually get the Warwick, or get like another emblem, and so like it's a little scary. Okay, we do actually. I can't
You
believe it.
got very lucky there.
We got the 1 and 3 on the experiment there. Okay, I mean, I can't criticize it because it worked. No, but yeah, I do think I think it's like okay, but like you can, like, what calling card actually does for you here is kind of like gives you an extra unit slot, and like that extra unit slot is being used to play. For now, it's being used to play like 2 Bruiser. I don't think it's actually that big of a deal. So I would prefer just looking for something better, some kind of like good tank anomaly or damage anomaly here. I don't hate it though; like it's not bad. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, I guess like being able to dupe units is really nice. I don't know, I don't mind it, and it does give you kind of like we were talking about, like you can think about like moving sort of like units around. Yeah, I don't mind it. Calling card in general, I feel like it's pretty good. But if we're gonna do it, I don't want to. Yeah, openers like the visionary +1 there.
Yeah.
I'm having nightmares
It's,
about that.
uh,
Um, Okay, so we make this. We do make the LW, which I like. I mean, the items look pretty good. Okay, you're looking at going 9 here. I'm afraid a bit of pushing 9 here. I would do a quick scout of the lobby and see how many Twitches and Mundos are out. If there's
mm,
not a lot out, I would just roll here for Twitch 2, Mundo 2, because
mhm.
you're not actually rich enough to go 9 here and like roll a
Yeah.
bunch of gold. Like if you go 9 next round, you're going to be quite poor. And there's a
Yeah.
very real chance that you go 9 next round, roll. Like if you want to go 9 next round, you roll and you do not hit Twitch or Mundo, and then you're just in a very bad spot. So yeah, I
Sounds
would.
familiar.
And oh my
Oh,
god, okay, well we natural the Twitch,
so
so
lucky.
it ends up being fine. But yeah, like I think it's a lot more consistent there, just to see, unless you're like unless there's like 8 or 9 Twitches out and you're like, I'm never hitting Twitch 2 here.
Yeah.
It's much more consistent. Just roll there, find Twitch 2, Mundo 2, and then push 9. Just the classic, just stabilize your board on 8 first and then push 9, instead of like trying to skip. And like we are on a win streak here, but it's also like without Twitch 2, Mundo 2, our board is still like not amazing. We get kind of
Mhm.
stomped here. But prior to having even Twitch 2, our board was like definitely pretty meh. But I mean, the only upside to our spot is that we're quite healthy in this spot. Like we're 51 HP here, because we won some of those fights at stage 4. Also, I realized we did a lot of yapping, so we're basically at the end of
At a
time for
time.
the
Yeah.
session. So we can, I don't know, we can speed up a little bit through the rest of the game just to get like a
Yeah.
sense for how it ends up going. But yeah, I mean, the board looks pretty good. Did you get the bruiser +1? Oh, you got another experiment +1. My
Yeah.
God. Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty
It was a
good.
wild game.
Yeah, for sure. Though
And
we
I
don't
forgot to
fit.
put the
Wait, we
Zyren.
don't fit seven
Yep.
experiment this
I
round is so
know.
tragic.
I
Oh, and
know.
then we
I
end up
was so
losing.
sad when I realized it.
Yeah. Okay.
Here I still have the Trundle on my board, which feels kind of bad, but I guess for 4 bruisers right now, like
Yeah,
it is what it is.
it's not bad. I mean, you could have. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not so bad. I mean, you actually would probably want the enforcer dude. You'd want like step here for enforcer for
Yeah.
the Caitlyn. But I mean, yeah, I mean 4 bruisers, not bad. And eventually if you find better stuff, you can end up playing around it. And then yeah, you just kind of roll down. The board caps are pretty high. I think you said this game was like a third or something. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, I definitely think we could have played for higher placement this game. Getting the double experiment +1s and just like kind of somehow naturally in that Twitch 2 did put us into a pretty
Uh-huh.
good spot. So yeah, I think this is a great game to review because there was a lot
was
to
a
clean
4th.
up. Oh yeah, it was a 4th. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think, especially with how blessed the shops were at the end there, we definitely could have played for a better placement. But yeah, okay. If you have like, I'm down to answer any like last second questions if you have anything. I know we're like at time,
No, you're
yeah.
good. I don't want to take up your time. I think this was super helpful. There's a lot of things that I'm going to keep in mind after this. So I think this was really great, and I definitely would love to do another session in the future because I think this was super helpful.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm happy the session helped. Here, let me